dark night of December 29, 1972. In the skies over Florida, Eastern Airlines, Flight 401, a luxurious Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, was confidently heading toward Miami. On board were 176 people celebrating the holidays or simply returning home. But what was meant to be a routine flight turned into one of the most chilling stories in aviation history. A total of 176 passengers and crew were aboard the wide-body Lockheed L-1011 TriStar. The flight proceeded smoothly until the aircraft neared its destination. While preparing to land, the crew noticed that one of the green indicators confirming proper landing gear deployment failed to light up. The pilots decided to enter a holding pattern at an altitude of 610 meters, 2,000 feet, to address the issue. Focused on troubleshooting the problem, the crew failed to notice that the autopilot had been accidentally disengaged. The plane began a slow descent. Minutes later, Flight 401 collided with the marshy terrain of the Florida Everglades. The impact was catastrophic. The aircraft broke apart, with some sections sinking into the swamp. A horrifying crash, panic, and screams ensued. The disaster claimed 101 lives, yet miraculously, 75 people survived. Rescuers raced against time, pulling victims from the swampy trap. But the story of Flight 401 didn't end there. In the years that followed, numerous accounts of strange phenomena linked to the plane's wreckage began to surface. Eastern Airlines had decided to salvage some parts of the aircraft and reuse them in other L-1011 planes. It was on these planes that crew members and passengers started encountering the unexplainable. Both crew and passengers reported sightings of ghostly figures resembling Captain Robert Loft and flight engineer Don Repo, who had perished in the crash of Flight 401. One of the earliest incidents occurred aboard another plane that had received repurposed parts. Flight attendants saw a man in a pilot's uniform silently seated in the cockpit. When approached, he vanished. Later, descriptions identified him as Captain Loft. Another witness claimed to have seen the face of Albert Stockstill in a window shortly before a flight. Strangely, this occurred on an aircraft that also contained parts from Flight 401. In several instances, the ghosts allegedly warned crews about potential technical malfunctions that were later verified. One pilot recounted how Captain Loft's apparition directly pointed out a faulty engine component. The airline tried to suppress these rumors, attributing them to stress and imagination. However, the stories persisted, and even rational pilots admitted something unusual was happening. Eventually, Eastern Airlines decided to remove all parts originating from Flight 401. After this, the sightings ceased. Were these apparitions warnings, or were they merely manifestations of collective fear and trauma following the tragedy? The answer remains elusive, yet Flight 401 entered history not just as a disaster, but as an eerie, haunting legend that raises the question, do tragedies always end with the lives they take?